and welcome to the Flicks Forum podcast, where each episode we go back and we look at a Netflix original film in the order of release. Today we have Netflix's 83rd film. It's the 2018 comedy Candy Jar, directed by Ben Shelton. It stars Sami, Gayle and Jacob Latimore. So I'm Jesse, and as usual, I'm here with MJ.
How are you, mate?
Good. How are you?
I'm very, very well.
Another sort of teeny comedy sort of
Yeah, well,
vibe.
a lot more comedy than last week's episode of Dude, I think anyway.
Yep.
But sometimes I like to comment on the title if I have strong feelings either way.
Yes. Well, okay. Good.
What do you reckon my feelings?
I'm not a massive fan.
I like this title.
You like it? Okay.
I think it's a cool title. I think it's memorable. It does. I have been thinking about Candyman a lot recently, and I don't know if that's because the trailer's come out recently and that movie gave me sincere nightmares as a young guy. But, Candy Jar. I like the title. There's no other movie I know of called Candy Jar, so I thought it was interesting. And even when they bring it into the film for the first time, I kind of like that.
Maybe when we get into it, maybe it puts a bit too much emphasis on one character for me, I think.
That's okay. I don't think you need to worry too much about that. Like, it could have been called, like, The Debating Capitals or whatever.
Yeah, true.
So I like that they've just kind of gone a bit obscure, but that character is also very, very important.
Good. So we start with our Fast Flicks, where we do our quick little summary of the film. MJ, Fast Flicks for Candy Jar, please.
Yeah, so a couple of, I don't know how well, this is a bit of a mouthful, but a couple of feuding high school co-captains of the debate team. That's what they are, yeah.
Yeah.
Both with blinkers on about their respective college applications, start to discover there's more to school than getting good grades.
That's a good IMDb summary.
Yeah,
I like
it is, isn't it?
It's a nice one.
It is.
I've said two high-achieving, competitive students struggle with the idea of needing to work together.
Yeah, cool. I like that more.
Yeah, it's not about... No, it's not about... It's about... They're very different, and that's fine.
There is more than working together, but I do like your succinctness.
All right. So this one, we look at what we could find out about a film. This one, I struggled a little.
I struggled,
Yeah.
and then I worked hard to get through the struggle,
Yeah.
and it didn't matter. There's very little out there on this film, and I know we say that a bit, and we've had issues with foreign language films because we can't find articles that are translated to English.
Yes.
This one is no excuse. This one is
It's got Helen Hunt in it too.
Helen Hunt. It's a semi-recent American film. But I couldn't find much.
Got to be very careful when I say Helen Hunt too. Got to make sure no slip of the tongue.
You would have to get it pretty wrong.
Yeah. So what did you find out about Candy Jar?
Look, apart from the basics of it being, so the film was shot in March and April 2017, and then it obviously released about a year later, 2018. I couldn't find out when Netflix came into the picture, whether they were involved from the start and whether they picked it up from a production company. I'm not too sure. That's one thing I always try and find out.
Yeah.
The most interesting part of it was around the screenwriter. So Chad Klitzman was the screenwriter.
Yep.
He basically wrote this film to give his sister a role that could showcase her talents. Now, his sister was Sami Gayle, who played the lead female.
Yeah.
Which is just a fascinating concept. And it's based around the fact that he saw all the sort of roles that she was auditioning for and they were giving her, and he kind of wanted her to be able to have a leading role where it was about a self-driven, independent young woman who was looking for this fulfillment that was independent of any sort of external things like a relationship, which is all, the character loner is right. So he just wrote a bloody screenplay so that she could star in it.
Nice big brother, hey.
What a champion. And so this guy's not a screenwriter.
No.
This guy's just... So he when he wrote it, he was just studying law. You look at his IMDb page, he has one credit, which is writing this bloody script. And I found out just recently he's running for office in Florida's Broward County. So he's not even
sticking it out or anything.
Dipping his toe into the industry at all. This guy is just obviously just a doer.
Yep.
But how many aspiring screenwriters are out there who
see their sister wants to be an actress and it's just like, I'll write your play.
He has to have known somebody, or because the script was fine. It wasn't like this would have been doing the rounds and everyone's like, we've got to make this film.
Yeah.
But that's the thing that got me. What a fascinating story to this script coming together.
Agree. I totally get that, and that's all I could pretty much find too. And I think that's a good thing to find though. That's a nice story.
Yeah, look, it's an insane story. And so at what point when he hands the script over to someone else or a production company who's going to get it, and they're like, you know what, your sister's definitely not right for this role.
Maybe it was a part of selling the script was like, she has to play that.
Maybe it was, but then how does this guy have so much power? Like, is he the kind of guy that'd be like, I don't care if you don't make it?
Yeah.
Bloody Sami Gayle, who have that different surnames, which confused me.
Yeah.
And I was like, maybe she's married, but she's quite young. So he's 26 now, and he's running for office.
So he's a high achiever.
This dude. He took some time off from his law degree to write a screenplay that got produced and made on Netflix for the one sole reason that he wanted. It's fascinating.
Yeah. The only other thing I could find was it was filmed in Atlanta, so obviously took advantage of a lot of those tax breaks that you get from filming in Georgia. But yeah,
the settings are really nice too.
Yeah.
So we get this a bit with the films filmed in Atlanta, but it's actually a really nice place to. I imagine a pretty nice place to shoot a film too.
Yeah,
so.
Definitely. Some consensus, some time for what did people say?
Yeah, sure. So as always, I look at IMDb and Letterboxd, and they are aligned with what they thought of the film. So pretty positive. So IMDb is a 5.8 out of 10. I'm always big on anything over a 6. People are pretty keen on.
Yeah.
Anything that's sitting a 7 out of 10, you should watch it. You should watch that film. So this is a 5.8 out of 10 from 3,800 ratings. Letterboxd is exactly the same with a 2.9 out of 5, just over 3,000 ratings. So it's if you were deciding whether to watch a film or not,
it's in the middle ballpark range.
Yeah, enough people have seen it for you to get a consensus, and
92% of Google users like this one.
So I saw this.
Yes.
Because I Googled the day of the film, and it just pops up.
Okay, good.
So
I've finally seen it.
I enjoy because I deliberately don't check that or Rotten Tomatoes because I know you get to check it, and I like to.
You probably would have seen the Rotten Tomatoes.
Well, no, I didn't. I actively avoid it, so I've got no idea.
So it's on 71% on Rotten Tomatoes. It's only on 7 reviews though.
I was going to say, I wouldn't be surprised if it was small.
The audience was pretty much exactly the same, 69%, but only on a bit over 100. So
really?
Yeah,
that's
very
really
low. Very low.
Surprising.
Yeah.
But fair enough. I think that's the general consensus of this film. People don't think it's not bad.
So, time to give our early thoughts, I think. What are you thinking early on this one?
Well, this is interesting because this really, to me, felt like 2 different movies.
Okay.
Like, there's a movie that is... sorry, let's do some spoiler alerts.
Sure, we are going to spoil this film from our early thoughts onwards.
Oh yeah, I was about to do it in 3 seconds. So if you haven't seen it, we're going to spoil it. So if you want to watch it and then come back to us. If you don't care, keep listening. But this film is in 2 halves for me. It was pre-Kathy's death and post-Kathy's death. So before Kathy's death, I'm watching this film, and it is a painfully predictable rom-com with basically annoying characters and childish comedy cues. Like, you knew what was going to happen.
Yeah.
I wasn't enjoying it at all. And I was like, oh, I can tell you exactly how this film's going to end. And then, bang, it hits you like or whatever you want to say. I never saw that coming, right? And then it turns into this proper sort of coming-of-age story about these seniors obviously dealing with grief, the realization that they may have wasted the best years of their lives, and understanding that there's more to the world than what you might read in a book or read in an article. And I'm like, this was not the film I was watching half an hour ago. Like, it's such a distinct change. So I was kind of torn because I couldn't stand the first half.
Yeah.
And I really enjoyed what they ended up doing in the second.
You have probably put it in such better words than I possibly could have, but I 100% agree with you.
Yeah, okay.
Exactly what I was thinking, but I couldn't verbalize it like that. So exactly, the early parts for me were a struggle.
Oh yeah.
Absolute struggle. But towards the end it picked up and I was like, maybe I should be giving this a little bit more than I thought, because the end was quite good.
Yeah, so I find in a film, like, a lot of the time, if a film ends really well, that can just like win me over. Like, I'm like, okay, I struggled through this, but I see what you were doing and you got to me to this point, and that's good, well done. In this case, I still couldn't overlook how bad the first half was though. Sure. Like, I can't forget that because it just wasn't a good movie.
Yeah, the first half, like, and then when I looked back, I'm like, okay, so they were establishing the characters and they didn't do it very well. I think there's a much better way they could have done that, but without what I know it wasn't great, but without that, the second half would have fallen apart anyway. So yeah, I'm glad I stuck through the first half, but to get to that second half, but yeah, I agree. The first half was
it's tough. And you know what? Despite the first half being really predictable and then having that big twist, I guess you call it a twist. I still found once I got into the second half that was still predictable. So once I knew what was going on, I still knew how it was going to end. So it was, it wasn't amazing, but and not that it needed to be another twist or anything, but I still can't forget that either. But it was all right.
Yeah.
I think everyone else who's rated it's kind of got it right. Yeah.
Time for some characters.
Yeah, there's a lot of important ones here.
Okay, go for some characters because I don't know what to say about these characters.
Well, you got Bennett and Lona, right?
Yeah.
So this is the film's about these two high school seniors, and they very quickly set up that this has been a long-term feud between these two.
Yep.
I think in the first minute they do a quite a good job of it. In the first minute, you know that these two are at each other's throats and have been for a long time.
Yeah.
In a playful kind of way, like they really dislike each other, but it's not serious. Like they can't stand each other's company.
They're both so competitive that they...
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And that's their competition, right? I found Bennett a lot more bearable than Lona.
Sure.
I feel like he seemed to be less invested in this feud that they had. And he kind of had the capacity to forget about it if Lona was willing to forget about it.
He was sort of the one who put the olive branch out first. And
100%.
multiple times. Like, he was happy to...
Because she didn't take it the first few times. And he was like, all right, we'll keep doing this. That's fine. I'll keep doing it. So I found him a little bit easier to get on with. Because I also appreciated his relationship with his own mother. Because he loved her and he respected her. But he also knew when she was pushing the boundary, and he was happy to sort of give her... the hard word, and he was smart enough to know that what she was doing was wrong, even though she was still a pretty good mum, all that kind of stuff.
And I think that adding in that he was adopted too, that was sort of cool that they didn't...
Late in the piece too.
Yeah, and they didn't play that off like in some films where you've got the conflicting between the mother and the child because of that adoption. Like it was still...
Wasn't an issue.
No, it wasn't an issue.
In fact, it was never mentioned by them. It was only mentioned about them.
Yeah.
So I found him a lot easier to latch onto because I thought Lona... do you have any more thoughts on Bennett?
I just liked and this will lead into Lola anyway. Lona, sorry. Lona.
It's a weird name.
It is. It's a weird name because...
Maybe our accent doesn't do it justice.
Possibly. But it leads into this where they have this stark contrast between rich and not poor, but not so well. And I think the first half they do a pretty good job of setting that tone, which obviously helps lead into the back half. But for him, I don't think that mattered, and I liked that about him. Yeah,
except he wore a bloody tie every day.
He did.
What a wanker.
He liked the way he looked, obviously.
Yeah.
But his mum always set his clothes out for him, so that's probably
true.
But yeah, I did enjoy that. He could have gone wherever he wanted. His mum would have, was always on the phone putting in favours, doing whatever he wanted. But I didn't mind that.
Let's let it play out.
He still wanted to work hard and he still wanted to do his best. So I liked that.
Well, she was very conscious of the difference between affluence between
massively,
the two, to the point where it was rude to her mum. But she was just a bit much. Like, she was way too into this world that she created for herself, and for the majority of the film, she really didn't have a redeeming quality for me.
No, she was too focused on goals and this goal-driven sort of thing. That chalkboard that you see on her bedroom wall, the stubbornness that she showed, and I'm probably jumping the gun a bit, but I'm not sure whether that was Sami Gayle playing the role, that she was just too over the top with it, because just even the way that she spoke annoyed me.
Yeah. That's the thing. I was waiting for a reason to like her.
Yeah, you wanted to like both kids because you wanted to be able to understand each of their motives, and you wanted to understand they both wanted to do well, but she wanted to do well, but it wasn't like you didn't feel like you wanted her to do well.
It's interesting you say that she was so goal orientated, but she was really singular in that focus, because her attitude and her work ethic is commendable, but she had one focus and she didn't let herself see outside of that focus. Like, if she was putting that effort into a balanced lifestyle, how great's that? And you know what, they could have really touched on that at the end, but they never did it with her. But and I don't like the way that she kind of treated her mum, who was pretty great to her. Like, she was a bit of a punching bag the whole time, and she was happy to do anything for her. She copped it when she kept talking about us being poor. But she was always there, even though she wasn't necessarily appreciated. I don't think that ever got to a point where she was appreciated. So she was... I struggled with her.
I totally agree. Like, I couldn't... You couldn't... I just wanted to cheer for her, or root for her, or go for her.
Yeah.
And then I couldn't.
Especially because you knew that, let's be honest, we both kind of knew that this film was going to end up with them coming out clean on the other side. And you wanted reason to want her to. But I never cared if she did or didn't.
Agree. Totally agree. Who have you got next?
I want it to be Kathy.
Yeah, I've got Kathy.
Because I really liked Kathy, and I had no idea the true impact that she was necessarily going to have on the story. And I was genuinely gobsmacked when they killed her off.
Yeah.
But just, I guess maybe in that first half of the film when those characters weren't, the two kids weren't really sticking with me at all. It was like she was a breath of fresh air. So whenever they walked into a room, it was like, oh, thank God, I need to hear something from this girl, or this woman.
Yeah, I liked that she was sort of the only one that seemed to get them both properly.
Yeah.
Their mothers didn't, because their mothers were too involved in this bit of feud between each other, whereas she was the one that, she made some comment about, kids who are coming through me always end up where they're supposed to end up. Like, not saying that you're going to end up where you want to end up, but it's where you're supposed to end up. And I sort of liked that she's there for them, but she's not going to push them to get them exactly where they want. Where they're going to end up is where they should be.
Yeah, exactly. And she understood where they're coming from as well, but also she understood their flaws. And some of the advice she gave were great, and these are probably going to come out when we talk about scenes later on. But she didn't force it down their throat. No. She basically said, like, hey, take a step back and realise that this might happen, that's okay. To me, she was a shining light when the film wasn't doing much for me. And I thought it was a great performance from Helen Hunt. Yeah,
I thought she was good, and I thought I liked that, even though the kids kept going back to her, and that's what I liked about it.
They had no one else.
Yeah, they had no one else. So even though they try to show they've got these mothers that are so supportive, I enjoyed that mentor role that was coming from the outside. That was good.
And obviously they had no friends.
No friends, yeah. What else?
We've got two mums as well now, and I appreciate it actually that. So we've got Amy, who is Lona's mum, and we've got Senator Julia, who's Bennett's mum. But I kind of enjoyed that both of these characters had a really similar character arc to what their kids had. So it wasn't like they were just secondary characters that only existed in the worlds of Lona and Bennett. They actually had their own their story existed in it, but their own development actually made you think more about these characters on their own as opposed to just their kids. And that's good, and that's clever, and I appreciate the fact that it wasn't just a story. They're not just in there for the sake of being in there. So they were well thought out. But I thought Amy, for example, Lona's mum, I thought she was a pretty good mum. And like, I don't think you're supposed to necessarily think that, but the more I thought about it, like,
she didn't put a foot wrong.
Well, she had, apart from her selfish motives from time to time, which was petty, she always put her daughter number one. She copped a lot of flack. She was a little bit abrasive, but she had great intentions, and I would say she was a quality mum. And I think I kind of liked her, even though I wasn't liking her that much during the film. I was like, nah, she's good. She's a good mum.
They try to make you not like her. There's that one scene where she gets up in front of the school and does that little back and forwards between Julia and...
and that was shit. Again, I'll give her that.
Yeah. And that was pretty ordinary. And I think they wanted you to be like, oh, she's a poor mum. But everything else you'd seen from her was... Yeah, she's doing a good job.
So, respect. I think that was good because I didn't like her daughter either. And I was just like, yeah, you're doing a good job with this. She's hard working.
Yeah.
And I thought Julia was quite similar to Bennett in the sense that I don't think she was necessarily looking for any kind of feud with Amy.
No.
And in fact, I generally don't even think she realised that there was one between the two of them until it kind of started happening. Yeah. But then again, when it happened, she did add fuel to the fire. Her biggest flaw, though, was her expectations that she had for her own son. And if he didn't reach those expectations, she would help him get there by the wrong means.
Yeah.
But, just like that arc I was talking about, she learnt her lesson in a really nice way and came out clean the other side. And
yeah, I think they were probably two good role models, really.
Yeah, in a sense they were. Not that they noticed it, not that the kids noticed it at the time, but...
you're not supposed to, like, the focus is the kids. Right?
And I'm fine with that as well, yeah. No, filmmaking of that is fine. The story is fine, so...
The director, Ben Shelton.
Yes.
First feature, again, ringing a bell.
Yeah. There's a few of them.
Lots of TV
maybe that's
shots.
why he had to have Lona on there. I mean, have, what was her name? Sami Gayle on there.
Yeah. So, yeah, no, that's good.
Sorry, mate, this is your first feature. You're going to cast my daughter, all right? I mean, my sister.
Yeah, and, I said before I struggled with Sami, and maybe I don't know whether that was the writing of the character or whether it was her performance. So I'm
in a
not
sense,
sold.
maybe she was too invested in that role. Maybe she knew it too well, and that happens in films, right? When someone is just so much more, often with a writer director, you notice that
you got some sort of special
standing out
connection
too
to the
much.
story.
Or,
yeah. Time for some scenes.
Yeah.
Sure. So, what did you like about this? Probably nothing from the first half, based on what you're saying.
Well, like I've got a few little quips. So the debate teacher, I loved it when he was referencing films and just how much he loved.
So we had Whiplash, Fight Club,
and Rudy.
So
the not my tempo. You know, Whiplash. God. He's like, what do you say? J.K. Simmons won an Oscar for it or something. But the Rudy stuff was so good because he was making a speech and then he just started making all the football references from Rudy, and I'm like, first I was like, this sounds really familiar, and I'm like, hang on, why is he talking about football? And then when he said, because Rudy, have you seen Rudy?
No, I haven't.
Rudy is a brilliant film. It's like the classic sporting inspiration, like chest beating film. It's so good, and I appreciate it. And then he went back and did it again. Like I just thought that was great.
I like them too.
Nice touch. Here's a little moment from the first half of the film. During their first debate, that were against other people, the guy was like setting up his little debate board and he couldn't do it properly. Yeah. And I loved that the next scene when he was struggling to do it, he was just sitting at the desk and he
gave up.
I thought that was really good. The debate teacher again at one stage was wearing a singlet under his shirt and the singlet was really visible. And for no other reason, I just thought that was really funny. But I think I'd grown a bond with this debate teacher really quickly. But he's just sitting there and he's got his shirt on. You can see it. And like, no one wears a singlet. Like, it was very funny. And now we're going to get to a couple of little quotes here. But when Kathy, I should talk to both of them at the time because they actually cut that quite nicely, to be honest. And then when she said, wherever you end up, kiddo, have fun. I don't know where you're going to be in the next year or in 10 years. It was great advice. The film was really lacking something like that, but masterfully delivered by Helen Hunt. And there was moments from now on where I did sort of stand up and listen afterwards because it was trying to make a really, really nice point.
Yeah.
Kathy dying, I'm putting in the good scenes because like I genuinely had a gaping mouth. I was sitting there with my mouth wide open.
So I've got that too because when that happened, I was like, I literally wrote down WTF because I was like, that got me. I was like, there was no part in this narrative that I thought
this wasn't happening.
That was going to happen. So
and it changed
and it turned
everything
a corner.
in the film.
It massively turned a corner for the film.
And it did it immediately too. When it killed her off, obviously I thought in hindsight the back half of the film was much better. But as soon as it killed her off, it made me, take stand and be like, this film isn't what I thought it was going to be. Where are we going from here? And I'm in. Yeah. So that was brilliant.
Totally agree.
I had a sense probably like 10 seconds before it happened when they were both sitting there. I'm like, this...
Why is there no one?
And I thought maybe it's like, oh, she's really sick. She might have cancer or something. And like when they...
Car accident, gone.
The scene where the two of them are talking, I think it's a little bit after the funeral, but they're sort of standing in front of a lake or something, and one of the lines is, what if we missed the point of high school? And I really like that sentiment in that scene, because that's what you're watching these guys going, you guys are idiots, why are you wasting your time like this? And they clicked for them as well.
And it gave her another opportunity to have a go at him. Like,
I know.
Made a comment about no friends. I'm like, oh, come on, just take this moment.
But you know what? I'm also glad that they reference the fact they have no friends, because that was the elephant in the room the whole film.
They got no one to bounce ideas off.
They both went to the movies on the prom night. And it's cliche, but the very last speech in the final debate, I think it was her that said it. Is what if I'm unable to build a human connection? Like, man, what a brave thing to say. In front of a whole room. It was such a turning point for that character, for her to recognise it. I also like the fact that they lost that debate. Because it made the journey a better experience. And I also love the fact that the line, sometimes we lose, not only came back and became important, but I think it's probably the message of the film. Sometimes we lose. And you know what? Not that big a deal.
I really like that little drawing he gave her at that moment too. Like, have fun. Just have a bit of fun. Like,
I was wondering where his artistry was going to come into it. I'm like, this guy's a kick-ass artist.
Been drawing the whole time.
I don't know how you're going to pull that into a debate, but
Yeah, it was cool. I liked that.
Yeah, good call, man. And that's it for me.
Yeah,
There's a bit there.
There was, yeah. I didn't mind one of the sort of first scenes where they set the scene early where you've got both kids at home having dinner with their mother, and you've got Bennett eating at this nice table, nice cutlery, and then in between, like you said before, they did a good job with these little cuts.
They did actually,
telling the same story, and then Lona's on the couch. It was just a nice, subtle little way to show how different their lives were. I thought that was nice.
Except the fact that Lona was really explicit about them not coming from money.
Yeah.
Because, like, the house is fine as well.
Yeah.
Like,
but yeah, I think you understood.
You didn't have to really labour that point anyway.
I didn't mind the cinema scenes. Like, I just liked that idea of going buying popcorn, sitting there laughing at a film, but that was way too obvious that she was going to bump into him.
Yeah.
So that annoyed me a little bit. I thought it was good when, and they did, this was a follow-up, because when they finally decide to join together to debate together, and there's this scene where everyone's in the room and they get that phone message that says, you know, what's coming through. And I liked that prior they didn't check their phones because they said it was a sign of weakness.
And they made a point
of them actually checking their phones. This just sort of showed how flustered they were and how they weren't ready to work together. I thought that was well done.
It was. Again, it was one of those things where it's like, you set this up too obviously. Because when it started happening, like, and it was fine. Right.
When they both got rejected from college too, I thought that was nicely done. Like, just the two cuts between the two of how it was happening.
What I like is, I must have missed this, because I read that as like the early approval. And I was like, okay, so they've been knocked back initially, but there's still going to be ways to get in. But they committed to not letting them into their colleges. So, no, I like that too, because I was like, this is just the early one that only like the top tier kids get in. They'll get in later.
No.
So that was good, but I didn't get that until the end. I was like, they actually didn't get into their colleges.
When she like submitted the forms to that post guy, I was like, are they not going to submit them at all?
So was I. So when they were logging in, I was expecting to say like, no submission or something like that. Because they focused on him putting him in the thing. I was like, not well done actually.
No. I like that there was a scene where Lona's mum, I don't know why I've written Lola. Lona's mum acknowledges
Unless
that...
I'm wrong.
No, I don't know. It's all good. Where she acknowledges that Bennett's mum is a good mum. I just like that she actually
really
acknowledged
good, wasn't
that.
it? Yeah, you're right.
And says, you know, I vote for her because she gets stuff done. And then I like the follow-up scene where in the coffee shop and... you know, she's telling her, you're out of line for upstaging me, blah, blah, blah. And then you don't see it, but she writes bitch on the coffee cup. And then she asks her for the recipe and then she gets the cup. I just thought that was really good. I thought that was quite funny. Yeah.
I did like that scene, because when she's like, what about her? And she like says like one bad thing straight away and you're like, here we go. And then she says all the good things and she's like, I vote for her. I'm like, oh, that's really cool. I really like that, because that's her highlighting that it's so petty, the stuff they were doing. And we all do it. Like, everyone's got someone they don't like because they're good at things and they make you look shit. And that's relatable.
Yeah. So that's me done. What are some things that you didn't like?
So this is a thing that I didn't like. When it first happened, I was like, what the fuck's going on? And then secondly, when they explained it, I was like, not a good enough reasoning. When they were debating...
yeah, I've got this. This is my first
Why
thing
the hell were they talking so fast? And why were they reading off their laptops?
Yep.
And... that was just the most bullshit excuse as to why they were doing it.
They've only got 8 minutes on it. I was
the new rule is that you can submit it and no one listens anyway. We just send it off. I'm like, no. So I did a fair bit of debating in high school.
Oh, good. I've got this down too. I did debating in high school too.
Good. So I was really disappointed in that was the way that debating was portrayed.
Yeah, because I was like, I did debating and I never did it like that.
No way.
Just to cut my little cue cards out.
I've still got my cue cards, not like written on, but I bought like 100 pack that I never used them all. And so I when I was in year 10, I think we won only at my school. So my team won, the school won. I got a trophy and everything for it. And my big thing was like being like the closer. So I'd come in at the end and I would always end with like a really emotional kind of pull.
Yeah.
And then they were just like, nah, it's all about facts. And I'm like, no, these girls are killing it.
Yeah.
Like, how is that? So the debating in general in this film was crap. And I think they only did it that way. Whether that is a rule or not, I don't even know. I don't want to look up. It just can't be, right? Like, that can't be the way that people are debating these
And it didn't come across well on the screen anyway.
No
like,
way.
It was just way too fast.
All it was to prove that the girls that beat him in the end were different. And that was like, oh, I wonder what's going to happen in the end. Like, oh, we don't have to worry about her. She's not going to win.
If that's how debating is now, and that's what everyone does, it's not good.
That's what I mean. And if it is, I'm like, if I'm making a film, I'm still ignoring it. But it just can't be right. Like, it can't be. It's ridiculous. Imagine sitting up there with a computer and just reading as fast as you can. So why are they so good? Because they do their research, I guess. And then when are you rebutting it?
Didn't like it.
Yeah, that was really bad. And if I watch it again, because I'm thinking about this film we're talking about, I'm like, I'd like to watch this again. That's still going to bother me just as much.
Good. What else?
You mentioned before about her going to the movies.
Yeah.
And that was fine. What you said was right. But her reaction shots whilst watching that movie...
They were pretty ordinary, weren't they?
They were awful. Maybe you're right. Maybe she wasn't that great in this film. And it was just way over the top. I don't know what movie she was watching, but she went through an absolute roller coaster of emotions. But I did appreciate the fact that she did double movie sesh.
Yeah.
She walked out, bought another ticket.
She bought a ticket. She didn't just skip cinemas.
Appreciated that.
Yeah, that's good.
That's all for me.
So I had that as well. I didn't like... this just annoyed me because I couldn't work out. It just didn't sit right. But when Lona's mum comes in with a bunch of dresses for her to try on.
Oh, yeah.
And she makes a comment about like, oh, I thought I was going to go as Diane Keaton. And I was like, is this the right joke for the people that are going to be watching this film? Are the teenage audience going to know who Diane Keaton is?
But maybe they're not supposed to, and then maybe they're like, why is this girl wanting to dress like someone that we don't even know? But
yeah, like I got it obviously, and you would have got it.
You know what's funny is that scene with her and her daughter. I wrote that down in my good scenes, and then when I was like re-looking at my notes, I was like, no, I don't know why I wrote that down. Yeah,
and because the fallout from Mum was like, oh, the goal's to get out of that dress as quickly as possible. I was like, yeah, pretty crap advice.
It is, but
I know she was joking, but it was.
But
just
her daughter was such a loser. She just wanted to. She was old enough to make that decision. So it wasn't the worst advice.
The only other thing I picked, like Coca-Cola, was everywhere in this film. Absolutely everywhere. So I was at the movie when they're drinking with the popcorn and the cups. Then they drive to this takeaway place. And Coke's over the window, plus it's on the cups when they're having the milkshakes together. And then finally as well in the scoreboard when they're in the gym waiting for these texts. The big scoreboard's got big Coca-Cola on it too. And
that's unashamed.
Yeah, I thought it was quite interesting. But,
did you feel like buying Coke after that?
No.
See, it doesn't work.
It didn't work, no. Good, well that's all I've got. So I think we move on to what the film's trying to say, our themes or ideas or motifs.
Yeah, so I touched on this before, and I think the more I think about this, the more I really like the idea of sometimes you lose is the main message to take out of this film. And that all comes down to what's important in life, and the balance is probably the key, and you won't always get what you want. And you combine that with the whole high school experience and academia versus friendship, and it's never saying that one thing is better than the other, but it's saying that you kind of need a bit of everything. Yeah. And if things don't work, that's cool. Like, don't worry about it. And that's a really nice message for a film. And I think if you're starting from scratch and you're saying, I want to make a film that's about this, I think you're onto something. So that was really strong for me.
Backing onto that too, life is better with friends. Yeah. And they are both so much happier when they are friends with each other. So yeah, I just like this idea that people are better together. Like sometimes you have to agree to disagree. Or disagree to agree, whatever you want to, whichever way you want to say it. I like that. I liked that. They were both in a lot better space at the end because they worked together.
Yeah, even though they thought it was all about busting their ass to get the certain score, to get their application, having this and this on it.
And they both failed individually, but together they worked.
That's the thing, right? They both failed their application. Yeah. They both failed the singles debating. They both failed the team debating. Yeah. All these things they wanted to do, they didn't get. And if you're watching that movie, you're like, oh, these guys ended up good. So it's a great point.
The debate topic as well. You've got to bring that up. Like the debate topic that they're all debating is, the money situation with education, like having to pay for your education, those that have and those that don't. And they did that through the two characters as well. So that was...
That's symbolic, wasn't it? Yeah. And they're obviously trying to get scholarships for college.
And there's more important things in life than success and achievement. Yeah. Good.
Also a nice little take on parents and siblings. The idea that parents can learn from their siblings, which they did in this case, but they still need to be there in whatever capacity that their kids need them without trying to meddle.
And it was good too, didn't have a male father as well. Yeah. It was nice that you had two female mums.
It's actually interesting. I probably should have almost put this in my favourite scenes, but when Bennett tells his mum, how it is. And she's on the phone trying to, there must be a problem with the application. She's like, oi, stop it. This is not what it's supposed to be. I think he says to her again, sometimes you lose.
Yeah.
I just love that advice. Here's this woman who's wildly successful. And it's not that she's got her way because she's called in favours her whole life. That's not who she is. But what does he say to her? If I don't go to Harvard or was he Harvard or Yale?
Yeah, because she made a comment about she'd gone from a school that wasn't well off to where she is now.
And he's like, so why can't I? And she's like, yeah, you can, but it's better if you go here. And he's like, so what are you saying about me?
Yeah.
What about? And I love that.
Yeah, it was
great.
What did we take away from this film?
You know what? I'm glad we haven't spoken about this beforehand because I did want to bring it up here. But the longer that movie went on, the more I really didn't want them to kiss or get together in any capacity. Because it could have been the start of this great friendship. I never noticed the romantic spark between them. And then you made the point just before about, you're better together and you're better with friends. If this film, and because they did kiss and they kind of get whatever you want to call it, but I would have just much rather it be like, hey, we don't have any friends. Now we've got a friend. And it's great. And I think that would have been a nicer thing.
Finish too. Yeah.
A little bit too cliche. Because did you notice, did you think look at these two, they're perfect for each other. I didn't see a spark ever.
No. But they like we said, it's a lot of the stuff's very obvious about where
it's
going to end.
So I would have appreciated it more if they didn't.
Yeah.
And similarly, I didn't care what schools they went to. I didn't care if they won the state champs. I just wanted them to learn about life and what is and should be important to people their age. So they're the things that obviously the thing I'll remember about this film is that it's a film with two halves more than anything else. But
just watch from the middle.
But yeah, they're the two things that really stuck with me.
Yeah, to me it was what I took away is if you've ever done debating and you've been hanging out to see a debater on the screen,
there you go.
this is the chance, I guess. Not necessarily in the way that you probably do it, but
you know what got me? So when we won this debating award, it must have been an end of year assembly with I don't know whether it was just year 9s and 10s together, and there would have been 600 people at this assembly, and they gave off all the sports awards and stuff. And I think that year I got a sports award as well. But when they introduced the debating award, the guy that went up there and said it was talking about now we know debating is not a very popular thing, and these people have done really well, and they should be rewarded.
Talked it down straight away.
Didn't talk it down, but talked it as if we know these guys are the losers. And I spoke to the teacher afterwards. I'm like, what are you doing, man? You could have given us a bit of a leg up.
We had a similar thing where I wasn't a part of the team, but we had a big chess club.
Okay.
And the chess club wanted to be a part of the sports awards nights because they did inter-school chess competitions. It was all under the sports umbrella for the inter-school stuff. And so it's...
Were they? Did they get included?
It caused a big disagreement between staff and students, that's for sure.
I can understand in a school situation that's a tricky conversation, but if you want to tell me that chess is a sport, then I'm not buying it.
Yeah. Did you jump on IMDb at all to check anyone out?
I did.
Yes.
So Bennett,
yes,
who's played by Jacob Latimore, very, very familiar. His voice is very, very familiar.
Sure.
He's in Maze Runner.
Okay.
And I think that's what I must know him from. He's also an artist, an R&B artist.
Oh, cool.
But I don't think he's done much for a little bit. He must have been when he was quite younger, and I don't know. It's not really my scene, but he was just really, really familiar.
Yeah. No, I didn't jump on at all.
Well, the other one I did look at was his mum, Julia, who's Uzo Aduba, who's from Orange is the New Black, but also from Tallulah, which I know because I IMDb'd her in Tallulah. So I knew it was her, but...
Just double check.
Yeah, I like to give her another Flix Forum tick.
Good. Do you have any questions for me?
Not necessarily about the movie, but I did notice in this film, and I'm a little bit separated from my high school days, but I noticed a lot of students had stickers on their laptops.
Yes.
Full stickers.
Yes.
Now, when I was at school, I didn't have a laptop.
Sure.
Did you have a laptop at school?
No.
Yeah, neither. Did you have any, I used my diary. Did you have a school diary that you...
Yeah, I had a diary.
Had a diary that was full of
stickers.
More newspaper cutouts and things like that. And I wondered if you did the same.
Yeah, I had a lot of stickers that I'd stick. Yeah, no, not in the locker, but I had stickers in my thing. But that's the norm. At school, kids have stickers all over their laptops, and they get them personalized. So
personalized.
Yeah, you can go on Redbubble and stuff, and you can get.
I bought stuff from
and you can get kids have got Brooklyn Nine-Nine on their laptops, just all sorts of lots of popular culture sort of stuff.
I'm all for that.
Cool. Yeah, it's very cool.
I think if I was born in this generation, I would really appreciate it because I like most t-shirts that I wear now. I don't wear my t-shirts are the sporting teams that I watch or TV shows or movies that I like.
It's like when Baby Driver came out. I got this awesome Baby Driver t-shirt, but now I can't wear it. It's got Kevin Spacey's face in the middle of it.
It does.
It makes me feel awkward. I'll bring it out every now and
Sucks,
then.
actually. I don't think I've seen it.
You haven't seen Baby Driver? Or the
No, I don't
t-shirt?
think I've seen.
The t-shirt. We saw Baby Driver.
I was going to say, I saw it with you. Can you wear the t-shirt next week, please?
Sure. Okay. Done. Lock and loaded. Anything else you want to ask?
No, that's all. Have you got any questions for me, though?
Well, yeah, mine's probably similar. They're more not about the film, but based on the film. Some questions for you. Like, did you put yourself through that much pressure to go from school to university?
It's a funny one. I was at a point in year 12, which is the final year of school in Australia, and didn't necessarily know what I wanted to do the next year. And the first half of the year, I basically cruised, figured out something that I wanted to do. And it switched on. So I reckon I worked pretty hard for 3 to 6 months.
Yep.
Pretty hard, but
good.
Fine.
Yeah.
And got a pretty good score and got happy and all good. So not that much pressure. I had a very balanced life as well, though. Never stopped playing sport during exams or anything.
I still worked, played sport.
I think it's important. And you know what? I give that advice to people at my cricket club. We get a lot of guys who take a bit of time off cricket during year 12 exams. And I'm always like, it's fine. I get it. You need to study. But you know what? Every now and then come out to training. If you want to have a hit, if you want to come watch us play, like it's good.
You got to have a balance. Yeah.
You really do.
Yeah.
So you didn't put yourself through that much pressure in year 12 either? Or?
I still worked reasonably hard, but I still, final year of high school is about 18th birthday parties.
It was a fun year.
Like, you literally have an 18th nearly every weekend. Yeah. And
It really was a good year.
Yeah.
I had a blast that year.
How do you define success in life? I think that's a really hard question.
Yeah, I don't
because there's no answer. I just wanted to contemplate.
There's no answer, but there is a way to like. I don't do it as much as I should, but there's all about setting goals in life, and there's little goals you can set for every little thing. You can set personal goals, you can set work goals, you can set relationship goals, you can set weekly goals. So I think goal setting is important.
You've already mentioned this, but facts or anecdotal experiences. Anecdotal experiences have so much more weight to me than just true facts.
And they need to have like something substantial behind them that's relevant. And I'm all for facts, like being able to prove things. But like, come on, if you're debating, that's what I mean. If you're debating and I'm listening to you talk, I'll melt if you really get me.
Yep. The candy jar title, we touched on it at the start. I don't know. I wasn't sold.
The more I think about it,
at the funeral as well, they had all the candy jars.
So the candy jar is basically Kathy, right?
Yep.
She is the candy jar. She's the.
So is it just that the kids take from her and never give back?
No, I think it's more. That was so the candy jar. Let's call her office is the candy jar.
Sure.
So it's more about that's their sanctuary.
Yep.
She was kind of like the connoisseur of the sanctuary,
the sweetener in their life.
And this film is about her and the messages that she leaves with them, and I guess the legacy that she has with them. So it actually makes me like it more.
Good, you've sold me a bit more. Yeah. Good, I like it. Last one. This annoyed me. The final debate they had.
Yep.
We had the scene before where the two mums made up in the coffee shop. They were getting along fine. Why didn't they sit together in that final debate?
That's a good point.
That annoyed me. I was like, you guys, you could have shown us this togetherness at the end where you could have sat together and got up together and clapped together.
I agree, actually. I think that's a really good point. Let's go logistically and say they arrived at different times and there was only single seats available.
So they're still not on as good terms because they could have saved
It's a good point, though. I would have liked that. Yeah. That would have been really strong. Maybe too cliche.
Maybe.
But you know what? Let's back them to get it right.
I would have liked that.
Yeah.
I think time to wrap it up.
Yeah, it is.
We finish our show where each of us give the film a rating out of 5 and then give us a Flix Forum average. MJ, what are you thinking?
Well, this film came out of halftime like an absolute steam train. It was an effective bait and switch of this predictable, almost childish high school rom-com into a story with a fair bit of heart, thoughtful depiction of what to focus on in your life. It had its flaws, but it came from a long way back to be a pretty decent watch. It gets 3 stars for me.
Nice. Good. Based on what you said about the first half, I was thinking, this could... No. The second half pulled it back up.
It came from a long way back.
I feel like I've just repeated everything that you've said today. So to me, like the start was so cringeworthy and I was really worried where it was going to go. But the second half had a lot of heart and it was really sweet. It was predictable. It was obvious the whole way through, but it got me some feels at the end. So I'm giving it a 3 out of 5 too.
It's great. Not only did it give you feels, it taught you, not taught you, but the lessons that it tried to give were good ones. And I'm big on that in a film. If you can give the right lesson, have a good theme within that film, then you've half stuck the landing. So
yeah, so that gives us a average of 3.
we do this a bit.
We have. Recently, we've been in sync a little bit. We're on social media.
Yeah.
Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, @FlixForum, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you can find good podcasts. Social media question of the week.
Oh, yeah.
Are experiences better evidence than facts?
Okay.
Just playing on that.
Okay.
Playing on that idea, because I really like that. I really like that idea.
Yeah, you know what? It makes me think I wish there was better debating in this film. Yeah.
I would have liked to hear them go backwards and forwards rather than blah, 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 blah.
Proper rebuttals.
Yeah. All right, well, we're back again next week.
Oh, yeah. What do we got?
I'll be wearing my Baby Driver
You
shirt.
will, yeah, you will.
We have another comedy, 2018 comedy called The Week Of. This is, I know of this one. I haven't seen this one.
I have seen the first... No, my wife started watching this when it came out. And I saw, like, the first little bit. Maybe not as soon as it came out. And we must have been already podcasting at this time. Because I remember thinking, we're going to do this for the podcast. But maybe... Yeah, so maybe it was a bit later. Anyway, so I haven't finished. The Week Of is directed by Robert Smigel, and it's another Adam Sandler film. So we're getting back onto the Adam Sandler contract work. It's also got Chris Rock, Rachel Dratch, Steve Buscemi, Alison Strong, and Noah Robbins. To be honest, I'm surprised Steve Buscemi is the only name that's not Sandler's mates, because he's been bringing them along for the ride in these other Netflix ones.
Very true. There could be some... There might be a Rob Schneider cameo in there somewhere. Who knows?
You say this is one of his contracted ones. He's extended that, yeah?
He has, yes.
So, Netflix is just like, the Sandler.
We'll have a Sandler movie every 10 or 15 episodes.
And in Australia, we got Uncut Gems as a Netflix movie as well.
We did too.
Because it didn't release in cinemas.
We'll get to Murder... Was it Murder Mystery at some stage as well?
We will. I've seen that one.
Oh, good. I haven't. So anyway, that's us for the week.
That's us for the week.
Thanks for catching up.
No, thank you. Candy Jar was a good one to chat about. They were, but that was a good one.
Yeah. All right. See you next week.
I'll see you then.